Our belief systems are replicated and duplicated in every aspect of our lives. So if we could learn to nourish and claim our inherent nature to be powerful, magnificent human beings, we can heal ourselves and the world, and it can carry into global consciousness. I'm Audrey Hope, and this is Real Women. And it is with heartfelt gratitude that I present my special guest, Rusty Berkus, who is an internationally known writer, a poet, a lyricist, a composer, and a family and a marriage counselor. Her books are considered healing treasures, and they have been read by thousands, and they've been used by so many organizations such as MAD, 12-step programs, AIDS victims, grief centers, educational institutions. They've been used by priests, rabbis. I could go on. Her books, and you can tell by her titles, she's written so many: Appearances, The Consciousness of Deserving, To Heal Again, Life is a Gift, and her new book, which is Your Path to Spiritual Starhood, Embracing Your Sacred Self. Rusty, thank you so much for being here. It means so much, and I especially thank you for helping me and the world learn to look at life through a self-loving lens.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, most of these books are really about a new model of consciousness for the 21st century. You talk about a renaissance of the soul. What is this new model of behavior that you speak of?
Well, it's a model for dignity and spiritual starhood, where we actually have the thought form of becoming our own beloved. That is the foundation of becoming a spiritual star.
Wow, and this is a very powerful thought system.
Yes,
It can heal the world. This is a subtle and little thing, but it can create a new world.
Well, everything begins with a thought, and a thought carries great power. So our thoughts can create whether we're going to be a victim or a hero.
Especially that thought system which says, I am my own reality. Now that is a very hard thing to comprehend. Can you explain what that means, Rusty? I am my own reality.
Well, all of us look at life through a lens, and some people look at it through a very dark lens, and we manifest everything that we're thinking. So that if we look at life through a positive lens, we're going to manifest positive, loving things and happenings in our lives.
Right.
It's almost like a quantum physics law.
Yes, because our thought affects our cells. I mean, science and spirituality has talked about this.
Right.
They've synergized on this point, that our thoughts affect the cells, our atomic structure, can even change
the DNA.
The DNA. Self-love can change the body.
Isn't that exciting? That self-love can affect your DNA and affect everyone around you, so that we can become empowerers for other people, rather than disempowering other people. And people can be around us and not feel threatened, but feel more beautiful when they leave our presence.
Wow. And you wrote the book, Your Path to Spiritual Starhood, and you talk about the sacred self, which is inherent in our nature, which is our birthright. What is a spiritual star, Rusty?
A spiritual star is a love bearer of the highest order. A spiritual star is a person of great dignity, authenticity, integrity, and above all, heart-centeredness. And a spiritual star becomes that way because of the amount of self-love within their mind, body, soul, and spirit.
So we become our own, you say, our own nurturing parent.
Yes.
Our own beloved, our own best friend.
Yes, we become our own significant other.
So that would make life, we wouldn't be shaken up by circumstances in our life. I mean, let's talk about the characteristics of being a spiritual star. You talk about expansiveness, not contractiveness. What do you mean?
And becoming a hero rather than getting into victimhood, which is very easy to do nowadays with all the violence in the world and everything happening so quickly.
Yes.
And not personalizing things and not catastrophizing things and being into high drama. Mm-hmm. Seeing life through a different lens, through the lens of spirit, of love, of integrity, through the lens of authenticity, of being real. Spiritual stars are real. They're congruent. What they're being or feeling inside, they're putting outside. They're not impressed with appearances or materialism. What you see is what you get.
Oh, I love that. You talk about the disease of the soul being perfectionism. Can you explain?
In my book, The Consciousness of Deserving, I talk about a disease called perfectionitis. And that's when we're so full of oughts and shoulds that we're almost in frozen fear because we can't go anywhere. We have to be perfect. And it is a disease of our culture, unfortunately.
Yes. And we pay the price because we give up so much of ourselves to please other people.
Right.
Because basically, like you say too, everything is a need for love. Sadness, fear, everything.
Everything.
Every trouble in the world is really a need
If
for love.
anyone is ever acting in a way that you don't understand, know that they're calling out for love. It might not look like it or sound like it, but they're really calling, love me, see me, hear me.
Because, Rusty, we're not raised with the gift of self-love.
No, we're not. We've had generation upon generation of dysfunction, of actually being called narcissistic if we cared about ourselves, if we took care of ourselves, if we loved ourselves.
Wow.
So we have to unlearn everything we've ever learned about that and take good care of ourselves so that we can empower and take care of others and take care of Mother Earth, who is screaming for love. Mother Earth is just as abused as the human being nowadays.
Yes, that's what you say. All of this can carry over into the global consciousness.
Right, right.
And it has tremendous power.
And if we clean up our own personal universe, then the whole world is uplifted. We don't have to go out saving the world, but if we save ourselves through the principles of dignity and self-love, it affects Mother Earth.
Okay, so we take this path of spiritual starhood, and sometimes along the path, we hit certain things that challenge us, like illness, like a loss of a relationship, like a tragedy, and you call that the dark night of the soul.
Yes.
Okay, explain that. What is
well,
the dark night of the soul?
Most people go through it sometime in their life. No one is exempt from this. And it's almost the death of the ego. The old ways don't work in our life. And it's like God whispers and we don't listen. Then He speaks to us through something happening to wake us up and we don't listen. And then He shouts to us, it's all for our highest good. He's trying to give us warning signs that we're not on the right path of love for ourselves or others. And we don't listen. And then soon things get worse, and sometimes the body goes into disease, mental or physical disease, and then we go through this, I would almost say, ego death, where it feels sometimes like you're having a nervous breakdown, but it's actually a nervous breakup of a nervous breakup of the particles that in our being, things don't work the way they used to. The old ways are dying. Wow. It's almost a gift in disguise. We are forced to look at new ways of being, living in self-love, integrity, heart-centeredness, new ways of being, because the old ways don't serve us anymore.
And you wrote the book, Life is a Gift.
That was my first book about 19 or 20 years ago.
And I also love this one, To Heal Again, Towards Serenity and Grief. And I especially like this one because you say, which is a very personal thing to me, that everything is okay. Whatever you feel at the moment is absolutely okay.
Well, when I sit down to write a book, I have a secret agenda. Of course, it's not secret over television. Or that's just a joke, but it's to give people permission to be human, to be who they really are, to grieve as long as they need to grieve in the way they need to. They need permission to grieve. Nowadays, people aren't even allowed to grieve. They have to put on a happy face, and it's very difficult, and then they wonder why they go into depression 2 years later. They weren't allowed to grieve and mourn their loss, whatever that loss is.
Because every ending, you say, is a divine beginning.
Right. But we don't see that when the loss is occurring. It means it's time to move on, to change. And we humans don't like change. We want to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Even if we're uncomfortably comfortable, we will stay in that energy field until we are finally forced to change and to grow. And that feels like a terrible loss, but it's really a blessing, a celebration.
Yes.
It's a gift.
So we have to remove the emotional entanglements of our past, the prisons of our past, in order to be healed. And the way you talk about doing that is through these thought forms, the consciousness of deserving.
Yes, most people walk around and don't feel deserving of the slightest things, and my book is about the consciousness of deserving, is getting rid of perfectionitis and appreciating the good things about yourself rather than the negative things. What is right with you rather than what is wrong with you? We're too used to looking at what is wrong with us. Right. What about all our God-given talents and gifts, and what is just for breathing? We should be celebrated.
Absolutely.
Just for being. Our beingness is enough. We are enough. But usually we have never enough scripts.
Unbelievable. This is so powerful, Rusty. This is so important. Okay, you're writing a book. Your new book is called Dignity.
Living Your Life with Dignity.
Living Your Life with Dignity, and you made a dignity pie. Tell us about the 5 pieces of the dignity pie. It's the metaphor. It's fabulous.
It's God's gourmet recipe. And the 5 slices, the dignity pie is made up of 5 slices: self-love, self-care, self-esteem, self-acceptance, and self-forgiveness. And if you partake of those slices and savor them, and I tell how to go about it, what they're composed of course, you will be stuffed with self-esteem. You will be stuffed with being your star self easily and effortlessly, because you will be filled with positive energy about what's right with you rather than what's wrong with you.